Go look in a mirror. That's not your face. I don't mean that poetically. I mean the specific arrangement of features you're looking at, the one you've checked every morning of your life, the one you draw from memory if somebody asked you to, has never been seen by another human being. Not your mother, not your closest friend, not the person you live with. They have all been looking at something else. And the strange part isn't that there's a difference. The strange part is what happens when you show people both versions and ask them to pick. Start with what a mirror actually does. It doesn't rotate you. It reverses depth. Everything near the glass stays near, and the image flips front to back. Your brain reads that as a left-right swap because that's the only interpretation that makes sense of a person standing in front of you. The result is a face where every asymmetry is on the wrong side. And your face is asymmetric. Everyone's is. One eye sits slightly higher. One side of your mouth pulls further when you smile. Your nose almost certainly leans. The part in your hair, the mole, the scar, the one eyebrow that does its own thing, all of it lives on one specific side, and the mirror has been showing you the other one your entire life. You know that face extremely well. You've studied it. You've fixed your hair in it, checked your teeth in it, practiced expressions in it that you deny practicing. Tens of thousands of hours. Nobody else has ever seen it. When your friends picture you, they picture the flip. In 1977, 3 psychologists at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee decided to test what that difference actually does to people. Theodore Mita, Marshall Dermer, and Dermer Knight photographed 37 women, students in undergraduate psychology courses. From each photograph, they made 2 prints. One was the true image, you, as a camera sees you, as a person across the table sees you. The other was mirror flipped, you, as your bathroom sees you. Then they showed each woman the pair and asked one simple question: which of these do you like better? Then they brought in the friends and partners of those same women, showed them the identical pair, and asked the identical question. The women picked the mirror image, roughly 2 to 1. Their friends picked the true image, roughly 2 to 1. Same photographs, same faces, opposite answers, at almost exactly the same rate. Nobody was wrong. Nobody was being polite. Both groups were looking at 2 versions of one face and confidently preferring the one that looked more like the person they already knew. The mechanism is something Robert Zajonc had described a decade earlier, and it is one of the least glamorous findings in all of psychology. It's called the mere exposure effect. The idea is that repeated exposure to something, with nothing else attached, no reward, no meaning, no good associations, makes you like it more. Shapes, symbols, words in a language you don't speak, faces. Just seeing a thing over and over warms you to it. The effect is strong, and it's stupid. It doesn't require you to notice the exposure. It operates well below the level of preference you could explain if someone asked. So when you look at a photograph of yourself and something feels slightly off, and you can't name what, you aren't being neurotic, and you didn't catch a bad angle. You're looking at an unfamiliar face. Your brain has tens of thousands of hours logged on a different one, and your friends have the exact reverse problem. Show them a mirrored photo of you, and they get the same quiet wrongness. They just don't have a word for it either. That's usually where this explanation stops. It gets stranger. Here's the assumption sitting underneath all of this: that the photograph is the truth, that the mirror is the distorted one, and the camera is the honest one. The camera is not honest. In 2018, a team at Rutgers and Stanford, Brittany Ward, Max Ward, Ohad Fried, and Boris Pashkover, published a mathematical model in JAMA facial plastic surgery, describing what happens to a face at close range. The physics is simple. Anything closer to a lens projects larger. At arm's length, roughly 12 inches, your nose is dramatically closer to the camera than your ears and your jaw are, so it grows. Their model found that a selfie taken at 12 inches makes the base of the nose appear about 30% wider than the same face photographed from 5 feet, 30% in men, 29% in women. The tip about 7%. At 5 feet, standard portrait distance, the distortion essentially disappears. Same phone, same face, same lens. The only variable is the length of your arm. Pashkover started this work because patients kept walking into his office holding up selfies and asking him to fix their noses. He describes a phone at arm's length as a portable funhouse mirror, and it goes past proportions. In 2012, Ronnie Bryan, Pietro Perona, and Ralph Adolphs published a study in PLOS 1 looking at what close-range photography does to the way a face is judged. Not how accurate it looks, what people decide about the person in it. Faces photographed from inside personal space were rated lower on trustworthiness, lower on competence, lower on attractiveness. Same person, same expression, same everything. The only difference was a camera that was too close. So the selfie isn't just widening your nose, it's quietly lowering how trustworthy you look. And it's doing that in the exact photographs most people choose to represent themselves with. Profile pictures, dating apps, the one you send when someone asks what you look like, which leaves an obvious question. If the mirror is reversed and the selfie is distorted, where is the real one? Video doesn't give you one either, but on the way to failing, it reveals something worth knowing. In 2012, Robert Post, Jason Haberman, Lika Iwaki, and David Whitney published a paper in Frontiers in Psychology built on a very small observation. When you pause a video of somebody talking, the frozen frame almost always looks worse than the video did. They tested it properly. 20 people, filmed speaking to camera in 2-second clips, and then every single static frame that made up those clips, 1,200 images. Observers rated how flattering each one was. The videos won, consistently, across 6 experiments. Then they spent the rest of the paper trying to kill their own result. Was it memory? Were people just remembering the good frames? No, recognition didn't correlate with the ratings at all. Was it that video simply contains more information? No. An ensemble of multiple stills still lost to the video made out of those same stills. Was it something about how we process upright faces? No. It held when everything was turned upside down. The one thing that broke it was scrambling the order of the frames. Play the exact same images out of sequence and the advantage disappears. So it's the motion itself. A face in continuous, natural movement gets smoothed. The momentary deviations, the half blinks, the in-between mouth shapes on the way to a word, all of it averages out into something the brain finds easier to process and more pleasant to look at, which means every still photograph of you is a frame that was never meant to be seen alone. Somebody stopped time at a moment your face was passing through, not resting at. So if you have ever felt that you look better in person than in pictures, you are not being generous with yourself. That is a measured effect, and it has a name. But it still doesn't hand you a real one. Every frame of video has a focal length and a camera distance, and both of those were choices somebody made. A phone at arm's length gives you the same funhouse geometry 30 times a second. A portrait from 5 feet is closer to honest, and it's still one frozen instant at one angle, in one light, wearing one expression, taken out of a face that is never actually still. You can put 2 mirrors at an angle and see yourself unreversed. People do this. The near universal reaction is that it looks wrong, subtly, unpleasantly wrong, which is exactly what the 1977 study predicts, because you are finally looking at the face everybody else knows, and you have almost no exposure to it at all. You've had a lifetime to memorize the wrong one. And it isn't only your face. You have probably heard a recording of your own voice and disliked it. Almost everybody does. That one has a purely physical explanation. When you speak, you hear yourself 2 ways at the same time. Sound leaves your mouth and travels back to your ears through the air. That's the part everyone else receives. But sound also travels through the bone of your skull, directly into your inner ear. And bone carries low frequencies far better than air does. So the voice inside your head has a bass register that does not exist outside your body. It's fuller. It's deeper. It's yours, and only yours. The recording is what you actually sound like. It sounds thin and high and slightly wrong because you have been listening to a private version nobody else has ever had access to since the first time you spoke. Same structure as the mirror. An original you've had unlimited exposure to, and a public one you have barely heard. So there's no canonical version. Not the mirror, which is reversed. Not the selfie, which is stretched. Not the portrait, which is one frame out of millions. Not video, which is a lens choice. What actually exists is a face that changes constantly, viewed from angles you will never occupy, by people standing at distances you will never stand at, and assembled in their heads over years into something you have no access to at all. Everybody you know is carrying a version of your face around with them. Your mother's was built when you were younger, and it's probably still partly that. Your closest friends is made almost entirely out of you laughing, because that's when they look at you longest. Someone who met you last week built theirs out of a single bad hour. None of them match each other. None of them match yours. The face you've been checking every morning is the one draft nobody else has ever read.